watch the sunrise. Let's make our troubles run away. Let's sit and watch the sunrise. Let's do our best to seize the day. seatbelts off, high beams flashing. I had the night of my life last night. Drove with the devil in the bright moonlight.
Welcome, everyone.
Woo!
We are live. This is the Synthetic Logic Podcast. I'm Mike Murtis, and with me is the illustrious Nikos. Sir, how are you doing today?
I like the word illustrious. That's a good word.
I know.
Um,
I added that to the dictionary today.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully my picture is right next to it.
It is.
I don't know, even better.
Power of the wiki.
Everything's good. I'm just excited to get down and talk some hackers.
Absolutely. So, yeah, folks, we are going to be talking about the 90s cult classic Hackers in this episode. We're going to be talking about its inspiration, its fantastic soundtracks, and more, all on this episode of the Synthetic Logic Podcast.
I love that theme song every time.
Theme song just hits, man. What can I say?
It does.
Nikos, happy Sunday, man. How you doing?
Happy Sunday. Happy AEW Revolution Day today.
It is Tony Khan, brand new owner of not just AEW. Of course, he's kind of been the owner for that for a while, but has just recently decided, much like a kid going into a Walmart, what action figure should I buy today? No. What wrestling company should I buy today? And he picked up Ring of Honor, which is great news, right? Ring of Honor, kind of a long-time standing company. Been around for forever, man, and just had some amazing stars with it. And unfortunately, just had some weird stuff happen in the last 6 months, right? Everyone on a free agency. And Tony Khan on Wednesday, Dynamite, right off the bat in the show, said, hey,
Swooped in.
ROH is mine, baby. It's not Shane.
Awesome.
Shane's not here.
Shane's out here. I know. It was so great. I love that AEW references WWE. Like I love that they don't like pretend like WWE's in its own little bundle or bubble and like none of that history happened. Like all of that happened. So it's cool that they acknowledge it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, right, it's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's connecting everything together, even though the big boys don't necessarily want to call it. Even though I will say they've opened the forbidden door, if you will, when they invited Mickie James to compete in the Royal Rumble this year, right? So you're starting to see that crossover, but why not? Right?
Yeah,
like just tie it all together because it's got, all those ooh moments every time it happens, for sure.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
So I'm excited for that. I got not much else going on a Sunday. Just relaxing, man.
Nice. Yeah, I'm
What about
catching
yourself?
up with
What do you got?
work and playing lots of Cyberpunk, loving Cyberpunk. Started with a new character, started with a female character. Man, we've talked about it on our special episode, which I think is due to pop up on YouTube like in a day or two. It's scheduled.
Yep.
But just having so much fun with that. Just completely different game, kind of like we talked about before. And I'm just doing all the side content. Like literally my goal now is I'm going to finish the game again, the main storyline, but it is to do almost every single side mission possible, finish the main game, and then I know like supposedly the next update is going to be a new game plus, right? So you can either start over again with your stats, or the DLC should be on the way soon, and I think it's going to be meaty DLC. So it's like, boom, okay,
Cool.
Let's dive right into that.
Yeah.
With my my mono whip or mono wire, whatever it is. I've been a Mantis Blade guy because when the game was broken, right, I never wanted to use guns. I was like, well, I'll just use blades and sneak around and like dismember people. And you get the Mantis Blades, which is like built-in blades, like think Doc Ock, basically, just with really sharp stuff. So I was using that, and then I'm looking at all the cyberware add-ons, and I'm like, what's this mono wire? Like, this seems really cool. And basically, it's like a particle laser whip that you can just hit people with and dismember them. Like, I wish like there was a Wonder Woman like DLC skin that you could add in to get the costume, because that's what I feel like with the Truth Lasso. It's just now laser particles and you can dismember people.
Nice. Yeah, I also started playing Cyberpunk again. I think I'm level 16 Nomad right now. I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I'm actually going back and I'm doing all of the side stuff. That way I can do it all, because the first time around, like you said, I just played the main campaign. The game was broken. I got it on the Xbox One. I didn't even get to play it on the Series X the first time, so I really felt the pain that first time. So like I finished the main mission and I didn't do any of the side missions. Like right now I just finished all of the Delamain cab missions for the first time. It was like, okay, that was kind of okay. I just shouldn't have done that. It wasn't a good payoff in my opinion.
Okay, so there is no good payoff, because I didn't do those the last time.
Unless he comes back into the story somehow.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you make more money returning all 7 than you do when you finish the whole bounty itself.
Does he give you like a car or anything?
No, not that I saw.
Okay. That's kind of a bummer, because he annoyed the shit out of me.
Yeah.
The first time I went through the game,
too.
and now I'm like, go away, stop calling me, like, and now he's doing it again, and I'm like, all right, I'll do your missions,
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of unfortunate. So maybe I'll skip those.
Yeah, I finished them to get him out of the way.
Okay.
But other than that, we said I'll let people watch the special episode, like you said, drop it on YouTube. But fantastic game, and I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with all the DLC and stuff.
Absolutely. You're playing something else recently too, are you not?
Oh yeah. Not specifically this one. This came with my PS4 bundle, Uncharted. I actually just completed Uncharted 1 the other day for the first time. Beat it in 48 hours.
Nice.
Honestly, probably one of my favorite games that I've played in a long time. I don't know why I waited so long. I got it when I got my PlayStation in 2018. Like, it's been sitting for 4 years. So I finally got to play it. I'm working on number 2, number 3, and then eventually I'll get to number 4 here. So, I mean, I'm a little late to the party. Everyone keeps telling me you should have been playing the Uncharted. You should have been playing Uncharted. Why aren't you playing Uncharted? I was like, fine, I will play Uncharted. And I probably should have listened a long time ago.
Yeah, Uncharted I picked up probably, God, I want to say a day or two after I got my PlayStation 3, because I was a Xbox 360 guy, right? Wanted a PS3, but they were just super expensive. That was at the time there was like a $200 price difference between a 360 and a PlayStation 3, and I still think I was working like retail at that point when those systems were out, right? So not a lot of money. A coworker of mine made me go to a casino because we were like learning how to play craps, right? And he was like, we're gonna get so good at this, we're gonna beat the system, all this. I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, I think I went there, right, with $100, which when you're working retail, like, that's like a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like a half page.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So I went out there, and I only spent like $40 in craps, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not gonna waste any more of my money. And the guys were like, oh, well, let's hit the slots before we go, right? I put $20 on a slot machine, and I won like $600. It was like my first time touching it. And they're like, you're going to get us some beers. And I was like, get me the cheapest beers, because I know what I'm going to get with this. So that's what I literally the next day in the morning, I went over to GameStop. I bought a PlayStation 3. It was still like the fat model. It didn't have the PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility. That was like gone by that point. And I picked up like games on the cheap at that point with I want to say Uncharted was probably like $20 at the time, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Wait till you get to the sequel though, the second one. That's
just started.
Yeah, that's my favorite out of the whole series. Cool. So good.
I'm excited then.
So good. Because
I would probably put Uncharted like in top 20 games that I've played if I had to make like a super list or something like that.
Are you gonna go see the movie?
No, and just because, like, I'm not a stickler when they change things, but like the fact that Mark Wahlberg is playing
Sully,
and Sully's like 100 years old in the video game, and it's Mark Wahlberg. Like, I just don't appreciate that kind of difference. Like, that's just like, you could have found someone to play Sully. Like, come on.
Yeah. You know who wants to see it? Like, wants to actually go to the theater and see it? And I was really shocked.
Ooh.
Mandy wants to go see it.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, let's go see Uncharted. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go see Uncharted.
She, she has a crush on Tom Holland.
And probably Mark Wahlberg. I mean,
I'm calling her out.
there you go. And and Sully likes cats in it. Like,
Oh, okay.
Nathan Drake buys him a cat, and he doesn't like it, and then he likes it, and then he travels with the cat anywhere. So Mandy saw that, and she was like, 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. That's hilarious.
Speaking of movies, before we jump into our main topic of the podcast, new Batman movie. I think it's out now. It's like 3 hours long. I did not know until yesterday that the actor playing Batman is Edward from Twilight. I think his name was Edward, and I was like,
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
like what? Like, how do you feel about him as Batman?
I mean, just I'm not going to go off the reviews. I've heard it's really awesome. It's great.
Okay.
And I learned not to judge a book by its cover after Heath Ledger with the Joker.
Okay.
I was on when they first cast him, I was just like the guy from A Knight's Tale and some 10 was it
10 Things I Hate About You. Yeah.
Like I was like, really, like that's going to be the next villainous Joker character, because I love Jack Nicholson. He's my favorite
Yeah.
Joker. So I was
Right.
like, okay, this is going to suck. And it's the best Joker probably. So I hope he does a good job, and I'm willing to give him a shot.
Yep.
I can look past the whole Twilight thing at this point. That was so long ago.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
It's not like he just coming off of Twilight into being Batman. Like he stopped Twilight, kind of fell off the radar, but from my understanding, he just wanted to do like indie movies. He wasn't really interested in like big blockbusters and stuff. And I guess it took a lot of convincing for him though.
Huge Final Fantasy fan.
So
Loves Tifa, loves Aerith or Aerith, depending on what region you're playing. Pretty funny. So I'll probably check it out.
What do you think?
It's a Batman movie, right? Like I have like shunned the DC universe ever since Batman versus Superman, because it was just so bad in my book, right?
We'll have to talk about that one time.
Yeah, I've not seen the extended cut because why stab yourself more when you're already bleeding. So I've kind of like just weaned off the DC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the first time I've actually thought about coming back and watching it. Like Chris told me it was like 3 hours. Like it's a 3 hour movie.
It's long.
Yeah.
It's really dark, I guess. It's like if you're looking for something that's coming out of the comic books, like this is going to be your Batman.
Okay.
I'm waiting for day 46. Like the guy, whoever owns Warner Brothers, he said it's going to be available HBO Max day like 46 it comes out. So like it's going to be out like April 10th.
Oh, that's not bad.
I'm not seeing it in theaters. So
I think the only gripe I have with it right off the bat is Catwoman's mask. It just looks so stupid. Like it literally looks like she took
a stocking cap
or a really small pair of underwear and like cut eye holes in it. And it's like, that cannot be comfortable. Like, I don't know about you. I'm a nose guy, so something has to sit nicely over my nose, right? That just looks like it'd be incredibly uncomfortable to shoot with and fight crime in and pretend to be a cat. Like, so, I've pretended to be a cat before. No, never mind. Wrong show. Wrong show.
Wrong podcast. We're not on that section of Twitch.
There you go. But we could.
Yeah, we could.
All right, Nikos. Well, let's move on before we get too weird here. What are we talking about again today? You wanna do the introductions?
So a couple weeks ago, my compadre Mike here came to me with an idea, and it's one of his favorite movies, movie that inspired him for a long time, and I'm assuming continues to inspire him today. It was the movie Hackers, and I thought it was a great idea because I have never seen that movie. So it was a cool concept. I've heard lots about it. I know like Angelina Jolie's in it, Matthew Lillard. I know a lot of the characters. I just haven't seen it. So when that came to head, I was like, okay, it's great. I'll watch it. It's on Amazon Prime, and I had a fantastic time watching it. So I'm really excited to really deep dive into it and figure out why it inspires you so much, Mike.
Absolutely. So yeah, this was your first time seeing it.
First time.
I had the opportunity to see it in 1996 when it came out on VHS. My dad rented it, and my dad always had like this really good notion for like anytime there would be something out there like movie wise or anime wise that like you got to watch this. Like you just have to watch this, right? Like watch it. You're going to love it. So you roll back to 1996 for me and picture 13-year-old Mike Murtis just got his very first desktop computer. Packard Bell, Pentium 1, 100 megahertz, 850 meg hard drive, 8 megabytes of RAM, quad speed CD-ROM drive, 1 megabyte of video memory, right? Windows 3.11. Seeing all these ads and stuff for computers on TVs and in magazines, like I wanted it because to me, it was the next evolution of video games. I saw games like Doom and Wolfenstein, and wanted to get into it. And, eventually I did get a computer and I love the thing. I mean, I was on this goddamn thing constantly. Nothing's changed, from,
I was just going to say, what has changed?
Yeah. From 13 to 38, not much has changed since then.
Yeah.
But
just a wife, that's it in a house.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But this movie came out and my dad rented it. He watched it and he was like, you have to watch this movie. Okay. He was like, you'll really get it. There's like computers and video games and just watch this movie. You'll love it. Okay. So, we were really, really lucky to the fact my dad was really into like good sound. He was a musician. He wanted to have like, as close to surround sound as possible. So he had a stereo receiver hooked up. Right. And we can kind of start like talking about the premise of the movie in a bit. But the introduction scene to this movie, like, after, Dave Murphy gets arrested, right. As a kid, flashes forward a couple years and he is flying into New York with his mother. Yep. And he's looking out the window and they're coming in for their flight, right? They're just starting to land and he can see like the skyscrapers and tops of the buildings and stuff. And they do this amazing transition where they go from the tops of the skyscrapers to basically the circuits of like a motherboard with like all the energy and everything flying right through it. And not only that, in the background,
basically my background.
Yeah, basically your background. They start a track by Orbital, Halcyon On and On, right? Like it's this track that's just got this amazing intro to the beginning of it. Orbital sampled It's a Fine Day by Kirsty Hawkshaw. And is that Pretenders? I'll dive into a completely different thing here, but basically, like it's this amazing intro, and as the reality changes to like the motherboard, the computer chips, the information going through these circuits, like this song, boom, 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 and it's just this amazing song, right? That gave me goosebumps at 13 years old because I never heard a track quite like that. I heard other stuff, right? Like my sister was in electronic music, but I never quite heard anything like Orbital before. And it's so funny because literally an hour ago, I pop in down here in the basement, the 20th anniversary edition on Blu-ray of Hackers, and I watch that scene again and I hear that music and just talking about it, dude, like my hair is standing up.
Gives you goosebumps right now?
Gives me goosebumps right now. And we could talk about it later, but that like just set me on like this incredible path. So watch the whole movie. Absolutely loved it. And it just became this thing like in my lexicon for various reasons. So what did you think of the movie? Like overall, like, especially considering like it came out in 95, right? It's one of those movies that when it came out, I don't think it did very well in the theaters, right? Because I never recall hearing it, seeing a movie trailer for it. I think a lot of people thought it was a weird movie, but seeing it now, right, and seeing how everything's aged, like, give me your take on it.
It holds up. It holds up really well, actually. And to kind of go back to your first point about the intro. And that was kind of what I was hoping for, was a really, really cool 90s movies intro. Like these kind of intros like that movie don't really happen in movies anymore. Like if you go to a movie now, it's just kind of they roll credits and then kind of go right into the movie. Like this was, they break into his house, they arrest him, and in 1988, he causes like 1,500 systems to go down.
He crashes the
7% drop in the stock market.
Yep.
And then the funny part is he's only fined $45,000 probation, and he's not allowed to touch a computer or touch-tone phone until he's 18. Like the most lenient punishment for a 13-year-old child that ever could have happened.
Right.
But like you said, it kicks right into the Helicon On and On by Orbital, and it's a cool, like you said, it's a cool intro screen inside the computer, and then the hackers flashes by, and I was sitting there, and I was just like, I guarantee you, Mike saw this intro for the first time and was hooked.
Yep.
And I'm so happy that you said that, because I literally put a note here. I said, very 90s, very Mike. That's literally what I wrote. So I was pulled in right off the bat. I really like how it kind of flashes to him when he's 18, and he's already hacking into the TV station. And he's just doing small hacks. He's not even doing like big hacks. He's just, I don't want to watch this racist garbage preacher that's on TV. Let me go ahead and just switch this real quick.
Yep.
And he switches the tape, and that's kind of where he finally discovers that there's other hackers.
Yep.
That they exist.
Yep.
And it comes up with the name Acid Burn.
Yep.
Who actually ends up beating him, and then you find out later who that is. But like you said, from the intro, it caught me right off the bat. I'm a stickler for the 80s and the 90s. I love it. I love the visuals, and it couldn't have been a more 90s intro. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
Especially being a 90s kid, I was like, this is great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like 5 minutes into this.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Like I love what they established too with the timeline, right? Because literally the day he turns 18, right? Like you find out later that they had to move, right? His mom really needed a job. I guess, still reeling from the $45,000 fee to crash the stock market, which again, I laughed out loud at that an hour ago when I watched it. I was like, that's it. But he finally turns 18, can finally touch a phone, right? He can finally touch a computer, and you like have to realize, right? Like it's like cutting off like a junkie, even though the kid was like 13 years old at the time, right? It's like cutting him off from like everything that he was. He's got like a heightened intelligence. He's a smart kid, so
super smart.
You can pick up like exactly like what Dade Murphy did during his, basically house arrest, right? From touching technology. Okay, I can't use a computer. I can't do stuff with a touch-tone phone, but I can read, right? I can do whatever I need to do to keep finding about like hacking and everything else. So the day I turn 18, I am just going to hook on, log in, and unload like everything I've read for like the past couple of years. And to your point, that's exactly what he does, right? It's late at night. He's got his shades on, right?
Chilling.
Turns on a channel, and there's this total just like racist dude. Like I forget what he says. It's like Native Americans or something like made out of like a mediocre stuff. And he's like, yak, 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 get a job. Yeah. But before he does that, calls the TV station, right? As he's like watching this totally racist thing happen. And calls a security guard, and he just says, hey, you know how it is working for a Japanese company? My computer crashed. I lost this day of the report. If we don't get this taken care of, Mr. Kawasaki is going to commit hara-kiri on me. And the guy's like, I don't know anything about computers. And he's like, well, Norm, can you give me the number on the modem? Oh, well, what's that? It's that boxy thing there with a bunch of switches. Can you give me the number on that? Literally, this guy just gives Dade access into it. And like you said, this is where he meets Acid Burn, right? He changes the tape. He switches it over to the Outer Limits, pops a drink, is ready to start, and Acid Burn appears, which you got to ask the question, was Acid Burn like on and she was watching this racist tirade and she's like, how dare you? Or, what's going on here? Like, why would you watch it? I'm sure that's not the case, but you'd have to ask the question. So he loses. He loses.
Yeah.
But definitely the second most prominent track, right, is
comes right after this.
The Voodoo People by The Prodigy, right? And this is this cool like montage of them fighting each other.
They're hacking back and forth at each other.
Yeah, they're grabbing tapes. They're hacking each robot arm and they're passing tapes back and forth and they're going in. And finally, she sends him a message: leave or you'll be expunged. Right? I'll swat you like the fly you are. And he changes his name. He changes his name because originally when he hacked back in the 80s or whatever it was, when he unleashed this virus, he was Zero Cool.
Zero Cool. Yep.
And he almost types this in, like when she was like, "Who is this?" Right?
Yep.
And he's like, I can't type that in, so I'm just going to do Crash Override.
Override.
He gets crashed. Acid burn, toasts his ass.
Beat some, connection terminated.
Exactly. Well, shit on me.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit on me. Yeah, that's hilarious.
So now you've got this kid, right, who totally new environment for him. New York, didn't want to come to New York. He's going to school now.
Another good song, by the way.
Yeah. Open up
by
left field. Yep. Absolutely. Another one of my favorite songs, right? So
I'm saying, like, if you think about it, like, we're like 15 minutes into this movie, and it's 3 bomb tracks, like, right back to back to back.
Yep.
Like,
absolutely. And this pumps. Like, again, dude, just imagine 13-year-old me on a surround sound system just sitting and, like, taking this movie in and taking the sound in. So he goes to school. Dude, is it just me, or are schools like the most like lawless places in like the 1990 movies? Like anything goes.
Anything goes. Anything is going. But like, I just want to comment, like, the styles.
Yes.
Like, the 90s were awesome. Like, no one dresses like that anymore. But like you said, like, high school in the 90s, they got that, like, on point. Like, I remember, I mean, you were going into high school when all this was going. You remember the styles. It was wild to see. Something that happens to him in this part of the movie, it happens to him throughout, that I thought was kind of cool, was when he has his flashbacks.
Yeah.
They're all in, like, movies and, like, TV and stuff. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool little element, especially when they're kind of trying to explain, like, you know, he's just a senior transfer. He clearly hates his mom for making him switch schools. So it was a cool, like, it's kind of his thing. Like, you know, he needs to go somewhere for a second. He goes to see his movies. I thought that was a little bit of a cool little side note.
Yep. Yeah. Well, when he meets his, I don't know, I don't want to say tour guide, but he meets Kate Libby.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Angelina Jolie
in her first probably major role, right? Interesting tidbit about this. If you guys haven't seen this movie, of course I'm holding it up. It's probably hard to see in the camera, I'm sure, Nikos, but very 90s, like, you know, tech girl kind of look, right? Short hair, right? Very cyberpunk is the best way to describe it, right? Very, very cyberpunk. When she auditioned for this movie, she grew her hair out incredibly long. She wore glasses, right? She approached this movie that she would really be like kind of this geeky, nerdy girl, right? And then what ended up happening was, you know, she auditioned for it and they liked her, but they were like, Angelina, like, this is not what we're looking for in terms of the character, right? Like, look at the concept stuff. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for a girl that knows her tech, and she's going to flaunt it, and she's going to make anyone else look like an asshole that doesn't know it, right? Yep. So just kind of interesting, right? Because, like, when I think Angelina Jolie, like, that's instantly, like, what I think is her character as Kate Libby, which is awesome.
Right. Yeah.
So he meets her, you know, gets her through the school, and he instantly kind of gets pranked right off the bat, right?
There's a pool on the roof.
Yeah, Olympic-sized swimming pool on the roof. Well, he goes up there, right, and he finds other people up there, but not before the door slams shut behind him, locks, and no pool.
No pool.
Even worse is it rains and it pours, and Dade Murphy comes back a soaked mess.
Yeah. Not happy.
And one of the other things, like, you know, when they're going over their classes and stuff like that, she's like in this she's smart, right?
Yeah.
She's super
like
smart.
an advanced lit class.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm not in your class. And she's like, no, you're not in my class. And he said, give me time. Give me time, right?
Yep.
So who does he meet? He meets a couple of people throughout his first day at high school.
Yeah, he meets quite a few people. I believe he meets Ramon,
Yep.
Emmanuel, and Paul, but they go as, I believe, Joey, Nikon,
Yep.
and Serial Killer, I believe, right? Are the names?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He meets them. He kind of doesn't know what to take of them because they're weird, right?
Yeah.
Like the freak is just kind of a weird dude, right? Joey is like the lovable loser, right? He just wants to kind of
smoking his cigarette all the time.
Yeah, he's just trying to be cool, right? He's trying to fit in. It just doesn't like work out for him in any way, shape, or form, especially throughout the rest of this movie. But he meets these characters and he's kind of like, whatever. And I believe the freak offers him like an invitation to like this local club, which is kind of like
underground retrocade, like awesome.
Yeah, basically like there's games, there's music, there's rollerblading, like there's everything.
It reminded me of the Foot Clan lair in the first Ninja Turtles, with like the kids like smoking the cigarettes, and, like, skating and playing all the games.
Yep, absolutely. So he goes there with revenge on his mind because Kate basically drenched him, right? But he goes there just to check things out. And here's another super impressionable scene for me, right? Because again, kick-ass music.
Cowgirl by Underworld.
Yeah. Everything. One of my favorite songs for sure. And Kate is playing a version. This is the first time I ever saw the PlayStation logo that I could remember too. It's featured in the back there. She is playing essentially what I think ended up becoming Wipeout, the original Wipeout. Really cool game where you're flying through, you're shooting stuff, you're knocking these walls down, and she's got like the high score on there.
Yeah, she has like the 2 highest scores or something like that.
Yeah. Really cool sequence too when you get a high score, right? Like the numbers bounce and crush all the other ones. It's super cool graphics in this movie. Yep. She gets the high score yet again, and Dade's like, let me give this a try. Totally destroys her. So
first try.
Yeah, revenge, phase 1.
Phase 1,
complete.
Check.
Yep.
I have to comment, the main character that plays Dade, during this scene, I have a note here. I said, looks like Finn Balor.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know
Totally,
why.
yeah.
I have that note here.
I can see it.
Sorry.
I can see it. I can totally see it.
Sorry, folks. I just write down whatever comes to my mind.
But yeah, he meets he meets up with Joey and the rest of the crew, right?
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
He was born to play that role.
Oh, my God.
And from watching that, it's like, why wasn't he just automatically cast as Shaggy? Like,
right.
The guy was basically born to play the character.
Absolutely, dude. That was my first Matthew Lillard experience, right? The second one was Scream, which he was excellent again in as well.
My first was SLC Punk.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, my friend Paul, shout out to my friend Paul Hawks, made me watch that in college, and I was like, that was a great movie.
Yep. Yeah. Terrific movie for sure. So he meets them, and we find out a couple things. This is really a good like plot starter here for what's going to happen in the rest of the movie. Because again, we bring up our buddy Joey, right? Yes. Joey is
trying to fit in,
right? He's going through hacks, and he tells everyone that he managed to get some ATMs to malfunction, right? And they basically slap him around because they're like, dude, like that's so traceable, right?
Yeah.
And Serial's like, dude, if you really want to pull off like a righteous hack, yeah. You got to hack a Gibson, right? Which is like these super computers, high powered, right? And Joey, of course, being the young impressionable boy that he is, decides, well, let me see if I can hack a Gibson, and he ends up doing it.
Yeah,
he gets in there. He uses one of the 3 most common passwords to get in, which I think is God, right?
It's God. Yeah.
Logs in as God and downloads a garbage file right off of the Gibson. And little does he know that this garbage file is actually a virus that is going to be used to basically capsize a bunch of oil tankers all across the world. And we also get introduced to our main villain, the Plague. The Plague, played by Fisher Stevens, right? You're
in so much stuff.
A ton.
What's it called? He's Johnny Five.
Yep.
Is that him?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Comes in on
Short Circuit. Sorry,
Short Circuit. I switch them all the time. I do that all the time. Comes in on a skateboard, right? Tries to purge the hacker, basically. But you got like, I'm almost ashamed to say this, right? But you have the 40-year-old version of like me, right? Like a kid. Comes in on a skateboard, dressed decent, basically like the 12-year-old kid that basically got all the tech right and just never let it go. Yep. I've turned into the Plague, Nikos. Help me.
That's fine. That's okay. That's okay.
But I've been blabbing, Nikos. Why don't you take over?
So after he gets found out, and his mom is actually the one who screws him over, turns off his computer when he's halfway through hacking it. But I think he ends up getting the file, ends up hiding it up in his attic, or up in his little vent.
And the heating duct,
The heating duct, and then we finally get to meet, I believe it's Nikon. Was his name Nikon?
Lord Nikon.
And he introduces Dade here to the wonderful show Hack the Planet.
Yep. With Razor and Blade.
A show created by Razor and Blade, which I thought is like the most fantastic name for two hackers. After that, obviously, Joey is arrested. The Plague somehow, this is the only part of the movie that confuses me, is how this guy has like the Secret Service on like speed dial.
Yeah, he's the Plague, man. I
guess so. Like I was like, how does he have how is he just controlling like
everything?
Like everything. I was like, this is crazy. But then we find out how he's doing all of that, because like you said, he's the Plague, the most powerful, the hacker alive.
Yep. And he's created this virus to basically take from his own company that he works for, right? He's siphoning off cents, like 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents. It's like a worm that's siphoning off money. Not enough for anybody to notice, but eventually it'll be $25 million. Yep. The Da Vinci Virus.
The Da Vinci Virus. Which is kind of cool. This scene's kind of cool because he explains like he created a virus to cause the planetary catastrophe with the oil tankers. But the cool thing is in this scene is he's basically wearing a Facebook Oculus.
Yeah.
Like with the hand paddles.
Yep.
Like it's almost identical. It's just black.
Even the treadmill.
I was like mind blown.
Yep.
That like I don't know if the people at Oculus did that on purpose, or if that was just like a.
That's how long this tech has been around for, honestly. That was like
okay.
Yeah. That's how long it was for. Like the VR was this big thing in the 90s, right? And films like that like really showed it off, like how cool it was supposed to be, and it just didn't take off because the tech wasn't quite there. But the foundations were there, man. So it's crazy.
Now we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I thought that was crazy. I was like, whoa. Like he took it off. I was like, that looks like an Oculus. I want a black Oculus. That's pretty legit. So that was cool. They basically, then what happens after that is Dade gets like, basically this is what happens. They break into his house, right? They break into Dade's house, basically assault him, drag him to his room, and like demand that he ask to find the virus, even though he, at that point didn't have anything to do with it. Oh, that was a kind of a crazy scene. They just like literally break into his house and like drag him into his room. And beat the crap out of him. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yep.
Yes. Then we're finally gonna get to another amazing song, which happens when they go to the house party, and it's connected by stereo MCs. Which I think is my favorite song. on
Great
the
song.
whole movie.
Great song.
Thought this was probably my favorite part of, at least my favorite song in the movie.
Busted that one out at your bachelor party.
You did. That's
Yep.
what I'm saying. I remember it. I was like, I heard this song before. No, it was so great. They're at Angelina Jolie's character's house.
Yep, Kate.
Her house, or her mom was like a famous author.
Yep.
So she has money. So they go upstairs and they start hacking the computer. And in the bed next to him is Angelina Jolie and her boyfriend.
Yep.
Very, very awkward scene. But finally, the scene where she shows that she's really the nerd, because she ditches the boyfriend. It's like, no, I'm gonna sit up here and play on the computer with these guys.
Yep. And they finally put 2 and 2 together that she's acid burn.
Yeah, she's acid burn. He still hasn't revealed that he is his original
Zero Cool.
His Zero Cool. Like, he hasn't said that. Yeah, I was waiting for that in the movie when that was going to come out, but he doesn't say anything yet about that. So.
Yep.
And but like I said, that was my favorite. Like, I think when they walk into that party and that song's on, like, I was like, this is awesome.
Yep. Absolutely.
But yeah, if you want to take it from there, Mike.
Yeah, so now we've got like everything we need for the plot put together, right? Everything is basically tied. So we have the Da Vinci Virus, we have our villain. Our villain knows that Joey was originally the one that grabbed the data, couldn't find the data, right? Joey eventually gets out of school, but the plague puts everything together like, okay, known associates is the freak, right? The serial Lord Nikon, which Lord Nikon, I never understood why his name was Lord Nikon until years later when I went, oh, Nikon camera.
Cameras, yeah.
And Lord Nikon has photographic memory, right? So that'll come into play later. But basically, like, we've got all this going on. The plague is pressuring Dade to, like, you know, where's this disc? I have no idea, right? So eventually, now that Acid Burn and Crash Override have learned that they're each other's nemesis, right? They basically challenge each other to pull off the ultimate hack. And the winner, if Dade wins, he gets a date with Kate. And if he loses, the date still happens, except he has to wear a dress.
He has to wear a dress
during the date, right? Which he has a weird, like, wet dream about, which is really weird later. But we won't talk about that.
There's a couple weird wet dreams.
There's a couple weird ones in that. Yeah. So one of the guys that's been, like, harassing, like, this entire crew the entire time, especially Joey, is the head of the FBI. I don't remember his name, or he's, you know, high up FBI agent. So they pull off this scheme basically to do whatever they potentially can to make this guy's life miserable by hacking him. So they pull his money, like he's at an expensive restaurant. He can't use his credit cards. He's like embarrassed in front of a bunch of people. All this crazy stuff.
They get him arrested because he has like a felony and like 150 unpaid parking tickets.
Yep. They get him arrested, and then
they kill the guy.
They kill him. Like, literally, they don't physically kill him.
Yeah.
But to the world, he's dead, right? He actually goes to make a phone call or something like that, and they're like, yeah, we need to talk to, you know, whoever's next to Ken, and they're like, well, he's dead, and he's like, I'm what?
Yeah.
But again, another tremendous scene, right? Because they're doing whatever they need to do to pull off these hacks and everything. They're collecting data. Lord Nikon's grabbing like passwords and stuff by pretending to be a flower delivery man. Maybe that's for like the ultimate hack at the end, I think.
Yeah, that's the ultimate hack at the end.
But again, another cool piece of music during this when they're going through the sequence. This is another Prodigy song. This is One Love. Which to me, the part that stands out, I think this is when they are going to hack him that he's dead. They're up on top of this giant tower, right? And it's playing, and Matthew Lillard's character just like screams out, right? And they initiate the hack. Yeah, and that song just goes, man. Again, super awesome.
Yeah, and this part was cool because right after this, he gets the call about the disc. Like, he's telling him, like, I have the disc.
Yep.
And I liked they talk about it, and he talks about the New World Order,
Yep.
about how everything has changed.
Yep.
And I love how he describes the hackers, that we are the samurai, the keyboard
cowboys. Yep.
and everyone else is the cattle.
Yep.
I was like, that is samurai, keyboard, cowboy might be like my new gamer tag. So I just a little tidbit. I was just jotting notes down. I was like, that was a cool cool dialogue sequence. That was a really powerful.
Yep. Yeah, that's a neat sequence where it's basically like the Plague knows that obviously he has the disc, or his friends have the disc, and he's basically saying like, look, dude, you got busted for this hack, right? Like, we could join forces and like I get you anything you want, right? Like, I know you're smart, that you do all this, and like I can make whatever you want happen. I just need that disc.
Yeah.
Right.
He threatens his mom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When he basically says, well, I don't play nice with others. Right. Then he throws in like, well, we can basically make your mother. He shows him these records, right? Like it's an FBI most wanted, like changes her reality, changes her identity. Right. So the next time anything happens, she would just get arrested. So Day does want anything to happen to his mom. So he gets the disc. Smartly, he copies it. Right. He makes a copy and he gives it to the Plague and hopes everything is A-okay, but comes to learn like what's actually behind the code for this shit. Right. Like that it's going to capsize all this stuff, that it's siphoning money, that it's basically going to cause the world a whole bunch of problems. So now these hackers, right, are going to be responsible for stopping this terrible environmental event from happening.
Can we talk? Okay. I don't know if it's a weird scene, but can we talk about the scene where he like literally like skates up and like grabs the disc out of his hand? Like, I was just like,
again, cheesy as hell.
So outrageous.
Yeah.
And so like needed.
So
like,
90s.
It's so 90s, and I was just like, God, I love it.
Yep.
This is so ridiculous. I
Yep.
was just like, who the fuck is this guy just skating around like New York City? Like,
Mr. the Plague. Yeah.
Like, it's not like sometimes stuff like that like doesn't fit into the movie, but like
It
everything
fits
that
in
had
this.
been like presented to me before that,
Yeah.
I didn't even question it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I thought about it. I was like, did he just skate up and grab this?
So crazy.
So crazy. Yeah. They did such a good job. I have like a note here, like, so they kind of like, you know, they get he grabs a disc, and then all of their friends start getting arrested.
Yep.
Like one by one. So they finally sit down to help figure out. They figure out there's missing code. So they kind of sit down and try to figure it out. And this is one of those scenes where all the interesting camera cuts.
Yes.
Like it's all of them kind of hacking together, and it's like a montage of them switching out, and it did a really good job, I feel like, of representing technology in like the effects, and as far as like color and theme, it made it very like, I don't want to say realistic, but it was just cool. It was like a visual experience. It made the movie that much better.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Like that montage and the eventual montage they have in the phone booths where they're hacking with Gibson together. Like, and that's like the ultimate thing, right? They find out like, hey, the ground zero for this is the Gibson that Joey hacked, and we need to kill this virus to stop all these ships from capsizing. So this is when they gather friends, they go to Razor and Blade, right? They get not just themselves, but literally a world of hackers to assault the Gibson at once. And right at the end, right, they shut it down, but they get arrested. They get arrested in Grand Central Station, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They arrest them. Basically, Serial managed to be, because I think he gets basically knocked out of the hack, right? Like,
yeah. Well, yeah. So like he just, I don't think he was a part of the original.
Okay.
Hack, right?
Yeah, he's just
like,
kind of watching.
He's kind of watching, like yeah. But there's a really cool scene where they go to the nightclub looking for Razor and Blade. And I want to talk about the song before we get to the end. I want to talk about that song because that might be, now that I'm looking at it, might be my favorite.
Good
Grief.
Grief
by Urban Dance Squad.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if who came first, them or Rage
Against the Machine. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you that it wasn't one of the. It was sounded so
Much like them.
Similar.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that Rage? And I have my Shazam on my phone, and it's like Urban Dance Squad, Good Grief. And I'm like, well, that song kicked ass. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is just to continue on like how awesome the soundtrack
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. So ultimately, right, we won't spoil the rest of the movie, even though we spoiled most of it, but
yeah.
The movie's like 30 years old, folks. Get over it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it at this point, you're a loser like me. So,
but they do manage to, thanks to Serial, get a broadcast out that basically shows that the true culprit, not dating crew, actually the plague responsible for everything, right? And they're released and all is well, right? And the plague,
all the hackers of the world come together.
Yep, everyone unites, and the plague manages to get away on a plane. So he thinks he's dressed up as like an old Asian guy, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And
not a very good disguise.
Yeah, no, not a good disguise. And asks for a pillow, only to get handcuffed by our favorite FBI person that was presumably dead due to the fact that he was hacked.
And shouldn't have a job after all the misdeeds that you went through.
No,
that's the FBI for you folks.
Not in any sense should that guy be working for the FBI anymore. But he gets arrested, and Dade and Kate have their date. Really cool, like pool scene too, where they're kind of making out in the pool and all that stuff.
Crash and burn on the building behind them.
Exactly. But goddamn, dude, what a movie!
Heaven Knows by Squeeze.
Yep,
it's the song that plays
absolutely.
Yeah. Cool little tidbit that Angelina Jolie and the main character, other guy, got married in real life.
They did
for 4 years.
Yep.
And then we're divorced.
Yep.
But
yep.
So that was pretty interesting to read. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It was cool.
Incredible movie. And dude, the soundtrack, man, like you put on for the soundtrack, so many great tracks. I mean, when I saw this movie, after I saw it, I probably watched it again immediately afterwards, right? And I begged my mom for the Hacker soundtrack, right? And I'll never forget 1996. I have it right here in front of me. This is my original copy. Nice. Don't have the booklet anymore, but 1996. Looking through the racks at Walmart during my mom's weekly Friday grocery shopping, right? Going to Walmart and Cub Foods, and saying I just really, really, really want this, right? And I think this is really when my mom started picking up that like I was getting into music. One great thing about my family, right, is that they were always really, really into music. So as soon as my mom saw like this is mature, right? He, my 13-year-old kid kind of wants it, like, okay, I'm going to get it for him. Right. And I'll just never forget, I think at 13, I may have had a CD Walkman. If not, I probably converted it from CD to tape, and played on a tape cassette, but listening to those, Cowgirl, original bedroom rockers, right? The Joker, Phoebus Apollo, which is one of my favorite Carl Cox songs. I love that song. I just fell in love with it, and I was like, I love this music. Like, this is what got me into like other groups, right? And other like electronic acts. But this was like the mecca of stuff right here, right? So it inspired me. It really, got me started on the electronic music thing. But it also got me even more inspired on computers, right? Like, how can I get into hacking, right? Like, how does that stuff work? And I never became a true hacker, right? But I learned how to do like code and websites and stuff like that. So, I think back to like, what getting a computer did, and then watching that movie and thinking about how I got into an IT career. And I think that movie had a lot to do with it.
There you go.
Right. Which was crazy. Eventually I started a job at that same video store where I rented Hackers, right? Where my dad rented Hackers. And one of the employees there was super into electronic music, right? And he asked me like what I was into. And I was like, oh, dude, I love the Hackers movie. I love the Hacker soundtrack. And he was like, well, dude, Did you pick up the Hackers 2 soundtrack? It's like just as good. Hackers 2? There's a Hackers 2?
I didn't even know that.
Dude, I'm losing my mind. Look at you.
Yeah.
You're losing your mind, right? You're like, oh my God, right? Bad news. It was a sequel soundtrack. There was no real sequel to the movie.
Oh.
So I have it right here, right? This is the Hackers 2 soundtrack. And if you look at the top, it says music from and inspired by the original motion picture Hackers. So there were some tracks that were featured that were kind of quiet in the movie that they really didn't get on there. You really had to listen in the background. But here's the lineup from this. Prodigy, Firestarter, Orb, Toxygen, David Bowie, Scooters, Fire, Moby, Go, Left Field's Inspection Check 1. Inspection Check 1, that was one that was on the movie that didn't make the soundtrack. Loose Drayden, To Be Loved, Orbital, Speed Freak, Brooklyn Bounce, Get Ready to Bounce, Chicane, Offshore, the Chicane really is the right way to say it, Offshore, and Left Field Original, another track on there. There's one track on here, right? So long story short, my coworker let me borrow the Hackers 2 soundtrack. And I got home from work. We closed the video store at like 10, 11 o'clock. And my place to chill out and listen to music was outside in our backyard on the swing. I put on CD player and just, chill out back there, right? BT's Remember is on the soundtrack. The Hackers 2 soundtrack.
Nice.
This is the first time I actually heard BT, and I was so blown away that I was like, I want to make this kind of music. Like, I love it. Now I want to make it, right? And flash forward, over 20 years, right? And here I am doing synthwave and EDM and everything else. So, not that this movie did all of that, inspired all of that, but it was a big, big chunk of it.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I texted you. I said, "What do you think is like the one thing I should take away?" And you were like, "What? Just put yourself in the mind of 13-year-old Mike."
Yeah.
And like I said, I literally have it right here. It's like very 90s, very Mike, and that's literally after the very first song of the movie.
Yeah.
So, I can definitely see how the soundtrack shaped the sound of your music, and it's a shame that I didn't get to see this movie until 2022, but I'm very happy that it held up. Some movies don't. This one did, and when you hold up and you have a fire soundtrack, I mean, you might as well put that in one of my favorite movies from the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, another movie, much like Blade Runner, like last episode, right? That when it came out, didn't do well in the theaters. And
same with this one.
Yeah, this movie's become like a cult classic, though. And funny enough, when the movie came out, actual hackers were so pissed about the whole concept of this movie, right? That they actually hacked the MGM website for the Hackers movie, and MGM was smart and they left that website up. I think it's still archived somewhere, but
nice.
Yeah, pretty amazing. The 30th? No, I think it's the 20th anniversary edition Blu-ray that I have here. Has so many great like behind the scenes like interviews and stuff with it, including Ian Softly, like the director. Like the guy hasn't done like much stuff other than that. Cass Fisher Stevens, Matthew Lillard, Penn Jillette, of course. Penn Jillette's the security guard in there, which is pretty funny. Great collection of stuff, because this used to be really, really hard to find and out of print. Like you'd have a hard time finding like the DVD, the VHS. Yeah. And then finally, they grabbed it and restored it. I missed this, and I'm really, really sad I did, but apparently back in 2020, they did a 2-disc Hackers soundtrack release that had a bunch of additional score pieces in there that was not in the original release. Unfortunately, it dropped Phoebus Apollo, which is a bummer from Carl Cox, probably a licensing thing. But they also put that soundtrack out on vinyl, and now it goes for easily $100. So one of these days,
are you gonna pick it up?
I'm gonna say no, and then I'll show it off next episode.
You also said you weren't gonna buy the AEW championship belt, but I'm pretty sure if we went upstairs, we'd find that son of a bitch somewhere. But
I got it down here in the display case.
Yeah, there you go. I fully expect that Hackers
Yeah.
vinyl on your desk next time I see you.
Open up your wallet.
Yeah.
What a great movie, though.
Oh yeah, like I said, I give it like 3 out of 4 stars. Like
Yep.
if I had to give it like put it on like a star rating or something, like it was good. It was honestly probably one of my favorite movies from that decade.
You think they could do a sequel?
Yeah, I think they could. Will they pull it off and make it good? Probably not.
Would
Unfortunately.
you take existing cast or would you do all new cast?
You would have to have you'd have to have the old cast in there, like Lord Nikon or Matthew Lillard's character. You can maybe get away with not having Angelina Jolie in it, maybe, if you really wanted to. But if you're really gonna do it, you might as well bring everybody back. Like, why not have the Plague, with technology now, hacked his way out of prison?
It's true.
Like
Gets
you
out
could do
early.
a lot of.
Good behavior.
Yeah, you could do a lot of really cool. Now he has, technology is, how far has technology advanced in the last 27 years?
Dude,
so like imagine what he'd be able to do with now today's technology.
you almost made it like a Cobra Kai thing there if you think about it.
Yeah,
in a sense,
right? You could do it. You could do like a Hackers series.
Yeah, because like Johnny Lee Miller's character, Dave Murphy, like goes to jail, can't use the technology for years, comes back and is a force to be reckoned with. Now the Plague could be the same thing.
He's been sitting in jail for 27 years.
Yep.
Has watched technology advance to where it's at, where we literally have driving cars. Could you imagine him hacking like a Tesla as it's driving down the road?
Yeah.
And, like, holding people hostage and shit like that.
Yep.
Like, it could be done.
It could be cool. It could be super cool.
We're giving out free ideas.
Ian Softly, if you're watching this, Nikos and I are available. We can start writing. We'll do the soundtrack for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to be in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Funny enough, someone online at one point, back in the BitTorrent days, labeled some movie with Skeet Ulrich from Scream as Hackers 2, and I can't remember what the name of the movie actually was, but they literally this is close enough to Hackers, and they hacked the title screen. So it had the original name, and then they put Hackers 2, and I was like, this is not Hackers 2. And then someone did it. They did a trilogy out of it, dude. They did that as Hackers 2, and then they did that movie Antitrust with Ryan Phillippe as Hackers 3. And I was like, no. No.
That's funny, though.
It is funny. That's how bad people want a sequel to this.
I mean, it can be done. I gave him free ideas.
There you go. We made it happen.
It's Cobra Kai the shit out of it. It's working for Cobra Kai, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love, the vinyl's one thing, but I may have to see if I can find like an old school poster of this, especially with its, like neon purple and circuit board stuff here. I love that. Like, you had just a badass poster of that.
That's why I love this background that I have on my Skype right now.
Yep. Maybe that's the idea for my next album. Maybe I'll do like a nice homage to that.
That'd be awesome.
Same font and like everything.
Heck yeah.
So, ideas there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Synthetic Logic podcast. Nikos, any closing thoughts before we close it up?
Follow us on all of our social media, please. Synthetic_logic on Instagram, Facebook.com/Synthetic Logic Podcast, slpodcast.online.
Yep.
That brings you right to our main website where you can download all of our episodes. If you follow us on Instagram, I have a link in our bio also to our website as well. So please download, listen. If you have any suggestions, like I said, me and Mike are open to ideas for for episodes. As awesome as it would be to talk about what we love all the time, maybe one time we would like to talk about what you guys would love to hear us talk about. So on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you follow us, like us, whatever, just give us some ideas and we'll definitely run with it.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, enjoy the week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, stay synthetic.